Hello, everyone. Welcome to Living with Intention Live. I am April Wyatt, and I am your host for this amazing hour that we're going to explore here together, the power of aligned growth, evolution without exhaustion. Wow, this is going to be a very powerful conversation. And these live conversations, the reason why I bring them forward is because we explore different aspects of well-being. As I'm a somatic performance coach, really about holistic health and wealth. And that's the foundation of how we live, how we lead, and grow in our lives. And we're going to be bringing together different perspectives, right? That helps us to understand what truly supports us from the inside out. Otherwise, we're just on that hamster wheel, that's from exhaustion from the outside. So this conversation really hits me personally. It does, because there was a time in my life where I had the perspective of that growth meant constant movement. It meant pushing. It meant I have to hustle in order to prove my worth. I was, I like to say this, I was the little red hen in that children's book. And if nobody is familiar with that, this little red hen, she lived on the farm. She wanted to make bread one day, and she kept asking everybody else, all the farm animals, will you help me harvest the wheat? Nobody would. Will you help me grind the wheat? Nobody would. So she continuously had to do everything on her own until she sat down at the table with the bread that she created herself. And everyone else said, yes, I'll help you eat the bread. And she said, no, I'm going to sit down and eat this myself. Well, I was a little red hen, but I never sat down to eat the bread. I never paused to appreciate myself, to savor what I created. And so this is why I'm bringing this forward today, is because there's so many people on that pattern, next thing to happen. And the systems, our nervous system, mental, emotional, body, physical, energetically, our system stays on all the time. And I know I'm not alone in that experience. And it will continue that way until something begins to shift, right? Our bodies start to signal it. It wants change. It's craving that pause. And it's hard for us to respond in a clear way, to really see things from a different perspective, because the sympathetic nervous system, we literally have the blinders on. And we're moving forward so fast, we're not able to see the whole picture of what's happening. And we miss opportunities in life. We really do. And that's not wrong or right. It's just how our nervous system works. So I want everybody to think about how this perspective of wellness, is about our evolution, how we evolve. And that influences how we think, how we make decisions, how we relate to others, and how we lead. And the body is that vessel. We really have to tune in and listen, because once our nervous system is allowed to settle, we're able to move through our day easier, both in our professional and personal lives, because wherever you go, there you are. You can't separate one from the other. And that's another thing that we'll talk about too today. So it's important that we give ourselves that space, a space to rise above the noise and distractions. And I love to create that space through my Bali retreat that I have coming up. That is October 10th through the 17th. And it's really inviting professionals of all levels. We're talking entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs. We're talking about people who are craving that pause, who want that space to be able to be with themselves and with other people and learn more about themselves in the process. So there's so much to this Bali retreat. I highly encourage you to reach out to me if that sounds like something that lands with you. Even if you can see yourself in Bali, you're halfway there. So I would love to support you with more information. Please reach out and I can share that with you. Also, this is about community, right? Community is we show up and are surrounded with other people, such as the Hounds of Business. And this is Mike Asherbranner. He's the founder of Hounds of Business. And this is how I met Deborah. And Grace is through the Hounds of Business of heart-centered professionals who want to come together and support each other. And this is genuine connections. It's not you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's not transactional, it's transformational. It truly is. I would not be here if it wasn't for the Hounds of Business. So I'm just giving a shout out to Mike Asherbranner and the community there and those that are showing up already in the chat. Thank you so much for your support and being here and creating these wonderful communities. Yeah. And so as we talk about today and what we're focusing on, I also want to just introduce a little bit about our guests today to just give you a little taste, right? Deborah Jackson, she works at the intersection of science, wellness, and human potential. And she supports professionals in expanding their impact beyond trading time for results, but by integrating approaches that support vitality and clarity from within. She is next level, let me tell you. And then Grace, she comes from a grounded, amazing, she was on the Hounds of Business. She Wins March. I think she was on week 3, if you have a chance to look at that. And her perspectives is about personal and family growth. And her work focuses on emotional steadiness, intentional relationships, and which creates strong foundations to support everything to flow together. So I know that you will enjoy our amazing guests today. I'm so grateful to have Deborah and Grace both here with me, and I'm just going to bring them up right now. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
It's a pleasure. We're so happy to be home.
Thank you so much, April. It's a joy to be here with both you and Deborah. What an honor.
Yes. And I thought of you both because of the amazing work that you're doing. And it's really transformational how you work with people, your presence, your intention, as my business name is Living with Intention, and how you bring that forward. And it really does offer that space for that transformation to happen. But before we get into the conversation, I know there might be some people tuning in now or later who might not be aware of who you are and what you do. Deborah, would you mind going first and sharing about you and how you support others?
Well, I come from a long line of beauty. From a very early age, I realized that I wanted to be a beauty doctor. So I landed firmly at a very young age in the beauty industry and have done many amazing things in my career and have come full circle. And now what I thought I didn't really want to experience any longer in the beauty industry, I walked away from, and in the refinement phase of my career, the legacy stage of my career, I've come back to serve the industry and support the beauticians, the wellness warriors, the medical people with a cutting edge science to support their services and their clients beyond their chair.
Amazing work. I love how that you build in working clinically, right? This is cellular level stuff here, and it really impacts people worldwide. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you.
Grace, please introduce yourself to the audience and how you support others.
Sure. My name is Grace Howe. I live in Hawaii, so I'm in the islands today. Just this is not a virtual background. This is the reality, uh, and I'm grateful to be able to have a career. People used to say to me, Grace, you've got to choose. You're either going to have a thriving career or you're going to have a fulfilling family life. And I said, well, watch me. I will have both. And I think that living with intention and as the topic of our conversation is something that was integrated into my life at a very young age, born amongst entrepreneurs, raised as an entrepreneur. People would say, you think out of the box. And I said, I was taught that there is no box. I've been providing professional development and training for over 25 years for some of the largest organizations for their, what I would call their chosen few. And I always thought that there was a message for the many, and to be able to have an impact on people near in my community and far. And so too was introduced to this breakthrough science and thought how many lives could be impacted, not only by a message, but by an experience that would be sustainable now and into the future, having an ongoing impact. I didn't want something that was like a quick fix. I'm never looking for the quick fix in life or in business. And when you come across something, you feel a sense of how could I share this good news so others would have an opportunity to experience it for themselves. So again, mother of 8, wife of 1, and very grateful to be in this space with you today, both of you amazing ladies, and those that are tuning in live.
Oh, I so appreciate both of you and the presence that you bring. And you said something so impactful there, Grace, about sustainable, something that you're supporting people with. And Deborah, you alluded to that as well, right? We want that sustainability. We want people, our clients, to walk away knowing that this is something, it's not a one and done. It's something that you're planting seeds that continues, and you're actually changing things, generations to come through family dynamics. Because again, we can't separate our professional life and our personal life. People think the doing of the professional, the tasks, things at hand, yes, those could be separated from personal life, although what we carry, the emotions, our cognition, our nervous system, even, we're still heightened from, I don't know, a big report or a meeting or something like that, and we bring that home. That's going to influence our relationships and how we interact with others moving forward. As I say, that we are the ripple effect. And again, wherever you go, there you are. So this sustainability of being in this present state, of being aware of, this evolution that we're talking about here, without the exhaustion. There's so many people that are walking around and they want more for themselves. They want to feel better. I think anybody that I've sat down with and literally asked, well, how do you want to feel? Nobody's ever said to me, I want more tension. I want more stress. They've never said that. They want to say, I want to feel better. I want more peace of mind. But they're still stuck on that having to do in order to receive more. So yeah, that I think I want to start there with that, with kind of a question of that, hitting that. So when there's a moment of pushing no longer feels like the right way
Mhm.
forward, can you each share what you started to notice in yourself, right? As that kind of nudged you, like it told you something needed to shift.
Mhm.
What did you start to notice, that needed to shift? And then what began to change when you did lean in and listen to that?
Okay. So I love this topic. The reason I love it is that I'm a student of it, and I am 100% dedicated to mastering it. And so I know the nuances of the visitations. When you and I were speaking behind the scenes today, we talked about how we show up and, unapologetically say no without judgment, that it is not the right time. I'm not in the right space. I don't have the bandwidth, the life force to sustain a room like that and actually represent who I really be. Because when I look in the mirror is saying, you need to you need to rest. You need to pull back. You need to practice radical self-care. You need to be in nature. You need to trust. You need to allow, let go, surrender, and give your body, your mind, and your spirit what it requires to come back into that full equilibrium where your elastic can stretch again. And I believe that so many of us, I spoke to it this morning on LinkedIn. Someone had posted about the responsibilities that we have around our own regulation, emotional and nervous system regulation. And we are 100% responsible, because when we show up, we want to show up and level up. We want to be part of the indivisible whole of the room of professionals or family that we're serving, and be able to take the weight of what that is so that we can be resourceful and be a loving conduit of wisdom for who we show up to serve. I will say that.
Yes, that's so important, isn't it? That we pay attention to how we're showing up and bringing that forward, because people, they sense our intentions, our energies, how we're showing up in that moment. And I just want to also allow Grace to answer that same question about, the people pushing, so much pushing, and no longer feels like the right way forward. That's just what we're talking about here right
Mhm.
now. And, when did you notice, if you ever had that, and when that came up for you, and then what began to change when you leaned in and listened?
Yes, I think that for everyone that's listening to this message, just get a gauge on where you're at with that question. Like really take that question on, where am I? Am I pushing? Am I pulling? Am I forcing? Am I centered? Am I at my optimal? Is this a life by design, or have I defaulted? Am I
Mm,
settling anywhere? Or am I living life on my terms? And there's always been a season of joy and passion. I believe life is what you decide it is. So if you decide that this is a joy-filled life, it's almost like an allowing yourself to experience it. If you decide that this is a bit much or an over the top, then it's a bit much and over the top. Um, it was interesting. I was speaking with a young lady yesterday in her 20s. We were going, she and a dear friend of mine and a couple of friends of mine were going for a hike, a beautiful valley here in Hawaii, one that I found to be so sacred and precious. It's almost like I wanted to stay and immerse myself in that space. And before we walked into this hike, I was sharing with her, I lived on the hustle and hunt train for
Mm.
years. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but it was hustling for the next project, hunting for the next client. You know, it was moving and shaking. It was exciting. And yet the realization of being gone for 2 weeks off island and being home for 2 weeks with a very expansive family life. I was missing a lot. So, yes, I loved what I was doing and the impact I was making. But I love my family more. And so, what I was working for was being left behind so that I could create what would provide for them. And that worked for a season. And one pivotal moment that happened when I was traveling I would go every quarter to New Zealand and Australia, and then I'd come home. Well, this particular season of travel, that particular month, it was New Zealand home and then over to the East Coast. I was East Coast bound. I had a 4-hour layover. My husband picks me up from the airport. And if you can relate to this, I open up the door home and he goes, I just wanted to say thank you for coming to visit us.
Mm.
And it was, oh, so sometimes somebody else will show us and reveal something for us that we may be sweeping under the rug, that we may not even realize we're in the push and pull of it all. And I stopped and I said, and that statement still continues to linger with me today. In that moment, I made a decision to transition, and I was intentionally seeking out a way for me to have choices. And so that I had the freedoms and flexibilities to work whenever and wherever I wanted. And 4 years ago, that became my reality.
Mm. And you said something so powerful, not just that, awareness that came in, that experience, but it's the choices, isn't it? The choices that we make every day. And I do this every morning, and I'm going to share this golden nugget with everyone here. Before I even move from my slumber, as I wake up, I ask myself, how do I want to feel at the end of the day?
Mm.
And when I ask myself that, then it's like, oh, I want more vitality. I want more expansion, whatever, or I just want some peace. I don't know what that is for you, but everybody who's tuning in now or later, really ask yourself, how do I want to feel at the end of the day? And then touching into that throughout the day. Oh, that's right. I wanted to feel calm. I wanted to feel happy or alive, whatever that is. Instead of comparing where you're at right now, because the mind will give you so many so many reasons why you're not over here that you said you wanted to be. Instead, you have the choice to pause, take a breath, and just lean into a little bit of a better feeling thought. That is even a choice. That is even a choice. So I'm curious, Deborah, I see you nodding a lot and really leaning into this conversation. What really impacted you? What Grace said or the choices?
Well, I mean, I love everything Grace said because, I just love Grace. And what came to mind is it's important to have mirrors, to have touchstones, to have people in your life that you can actually go to and be 100% transparent and vulnerable with, even if you are navigating a big decision, a small decision, and many of us are navigating those. So I think it comes down to awareness to what you were saying, that we are, we touch in with ourselves. We look around in our days, and partway through it, we touch in with ourselves and we say, is this me? Is this what I want? Am I utilizing my life force to the greatest of my, you know, desire and vision for my life? Am I showing up to serve others? And are the others the people that I want to be in life with? Because
Mm.
we have a choice. So we can, we are all about, Grace, myself, yourself, we are about designing a life. We don't have to just collect people. We can actually look at people and say, that is a person that I feel that I could align with, have a meaningful exchange with, and I could maintain that equilibrium of the essence of who I be and how I show up and how I make impact, and not be pulled outside of myself. I think that is the nature of peace, is to be wherever you are and to know that alignment and peace are one. And when you're out of alignment, you're out of peace. And so it is up to us to be so connected to what that looks like for us and what it feels like, checking in with the body, the mind, the spirit, and say yes to this, no to that. Even if you have something planned, that today your cup is not full enough to be able to give in a way that would be beneficial for everyone. So I think it's just being that so aware, knowing that you're not going to put yourself in a situation that will fray you beyond the place that where your set point is, and you know that you have a ways to go to level up.
Mhm. Exactly. It's so important for people to tune in uh, to how our body is responding. Our body is a compass. It will let us know what direction we're going, or if it's overstimulated or dysregulated, right? So if we're constantly on a hum, kind of the
Mm.
hamster wheel, go, 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 that's just heightened, right? And if we're in collapse and
Mm.
shutdown, that's also a state. That's also our bodies
Mm.
communicating, I need pause. I need this space. But our minds on that belief system of I have to hustle, I have to do this. If I don't do this, it's the fear of failure. It's the fear of survival. That's in survival mode.
Mm.
People, I want you to hear that.
Mm.
And this is how our brains are hardwired. It's the amygdala. It's that reptilian part of our brain that kicks in. We don't even think about it. It's going to go there. It's our protection. It's not right or wrong, as I said before, just understanding how your nervous system works, feeling when things are off, understanding when is the right time to step back, as Deborah said. I need space. I don't have to explain myself.
Mhm.
I can receive this space, even if it is 30 seconds. Just
Mm.
allowing yourself that space, that can just subtly just shift your nervous system just a little bit. And we don't have to carry that pressure and that weight.
Mhm.
That's that exhaustion. That's
Mhm.
that drive. And we all have been there in some shape or form. Um,
It's
and
like the butterfly. So the butterfly, starts in the chrysalis, in the womb, in the amniotic fluid, and it gets nurtured. And if we poke at it too soon and help it grow beyond what its capacity is at that moment, it hasn't come to full term. It hasn't, it's not able. We need to release ourselves to know ourselves enough when we can take flight. And I think, Grace and I were talking last night, and I think this is very aligned with what we're talking about. It's like, I am no longer a goal getter. I'm an
Mm,
impact maker. I'm in flow with intention. I don't buy into the hype, the hustle, the grind. I don't buy into what is, happening over here that is fear driven. It's, I've unlearned all of that. And that is survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, there's only a few things that we can do. And the one thing is that we cannot do is we cannot talk ourselves out of survival mode. We need to cool down the system and put ourselves in a healing state
mm.
for as long as it takes. And it will take some time. It's not an overnight sensation.
Exactly. And I want everybody to hear this right now. Everybody's nervous system is calibrated at a different pace, or some people say a thermostat,
Mhm.
thinking about that. You're hot, you're cold, maybe you're in the middle, and it is leaning in and just being aware of it. You don't have to do a lot. And in fact, less is more when you're talking about nervous system alignment here. Less is more. And that's when we have a little bit more space. And I see Mike's comment here about how he used to think that he was the only one silently struggling, right? And feeling guilty about that. It is so true. We beat ourselves up because of the way we're feeling, and that just compounds
Mhm.
that. And Grace, I'm really curious about what you have to say about that guilt that, that kind of impedes.
Well, I think guilt is the thief of joy. It will rob it guilt robs us. I look at situations and I say to myself, those are all learning lessons. Those were opportunities to refine. Those were decisions that were made with the tools, resources, and experience that I had in the moment. And I release my past self so that my future self can be free.
Mhm.
And with that freedom is where creation it takes place, where it's almost like the world harmonizes to the tunes that we play, and
Mm,
it will orchestrate in our favor and in the favor of those that we so graciously and gratefully get to partner with. So, like with Deborah, as Deborah was speaking just moments ago, as well as yourself, April, I thought to myself, these are people that bring out and awaken the greatest expression in me. And if you do not have people that champion who you be beyond what you do, uh, success is not as sweet.
mm,
And I don't
mhm,
even believe that we can even experience it. That we weren't made, we were designed for collaboration. We were designed for being more than one. And
yeah.
so so having these incredible people to be in life with, and again, to awaken the greatest version, the greatest expression, the greatest essence of who we be on a daily basis. So I always like to remind myself of of who these people are, and how can we pour into one another's lives from our overflow, not until we're empty, because empty means burnout. But from overflow means that we have expansive capacity, and it will and there will be fruit,
Mm,
lots of fruit.
yes, lots of fruit because we got a lot of fertilizer we're working through. Right? We have to have that contrast in our lives to know, to wake up and go, "Oh, well, I don't want any of this, so where can I turn my direction to? What can I
Mhm.
focus on? What seeds can I plant now that, as you said so beautifully, Grace, about, then receiving that fruit.
Mhm.
It's That's what it's all about. And there's no, I'm sorry to ruin it for everybody listening here, but there's no end goal that's going to bring this magnificent, whoa, and I'm done with life. That will happen when we transition, maybe, But right now, it's the ebbs and flows. It's learning about ourselves. As Deborah said, I'm learning and unlearning,
Mhm.
and that community, that connection with other people, and receiving those insights, those glimpses, really for ourselves. It's really about learning more about us in the process, so that way we can step back and release those expectations and judgments that we put on ourselves, and also we're projecting on others too.
Mhm.
That tends to get in the way, as if we're not in alignment, if we're not paused and have that emotional intelligence, tuning into what is it that I need right now, asking yourself, being in that space. If we keep moving forward with that hustle, then we're just throwing things at other people as well. I
Mhm.
find that to be so true.
Mhm.
And if you don't believe it, look at the patterns in your life.
Mhm.
And again, it's not right or wrong. It's just human behavior. Those
Mhm.
neural pathways, they're going to kick in, right? That's the easiest way. If we're stressed, then right away, those neural pathways are ingrained in our brain, physically in our brain. And boom, we're going to keep those behaviors because that's what's easiest when we're stressed. We don't have the capacity. Our nervous system isn't in the space to be receptive.
Mhm.
And that's that autopilot. And then
Yeah.
we wonder why. Why does this keep happening?
Mhm.
Yes, Deborah, I know that you're you're like, whoa, yes, so
Yeah.
much to share here. But we want
Mm.
people to be aware that about patterns, and
Mhm.
how can they shift away from that hustle and evolve, right?
Mm.
Move away from that exhaustion. It's so important right now.
Yes. So it starts with a recognition of taking 100% full responsibility for where you find yourself. And so that would be the first door that would open. That would be the first step that you would take, is like, okay, I'm willing to look at myself. I will hold the mirror up to my own soul. And then from there, understanding that energy and patterns tell a truth that you cannot deny. And so, what we understand about energy is that the universe does not understand confusion. If you say you want something over here, but you're doing something over here that's perpetuating the negative pattern in your life, it's not just going to be that you'll show up in the same light, and it's actually not even light. If you're challenged with nervous system irregulation, which I believe is a pandemic, it's an
Mhm.
epidemic. And we just need to take a look at the rooms that we're in to see who's calm, who's not calm, who has personas, who doesn't have personas. And when you've lived life as much as we haven't had as many rich experiences of holding the tension of the opposites of transforming our lives because we did not like what we created over here.
Mm,
So we took ourselves out. We asked ourselves the pregnant questions. Who am I really? And do I want more of this, or would I prefer this? And so are we willing to put ourselves in the self-reflective, on that self-reflective journey and do the work? It's
mm,
work. It's not, it's own work.
yeah.
I call it own work because we're going in, and it's not easy, but it is always worth it. And we're here to transform. When we go in, we are able to come out. If we do not go in, we cannot come out. If we stay out and we look at everything externally, we're working for that next dollar. We're in survival mode. We're out shopping because that's going to satiate us for the moment. We need to look at all of the things under the rocks that we've created
Mm.
and say, that's not serving me. I'm going to diminish the energy that I give that, and I'm going to choose a higher value, and I'm going to do the work that's required to give myself wings to fly.
Ah, exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes, Grace. And hold that thought, Grace. It is so important for people to hear this too. We all have different languages. We all have different ways of expressing what we experienced. And I love to take also the holistic approach and also science, right? That's my Capricorn brain. I want to show what's happening. This is why I do the work I do with the biodynamic breath work, because it's science-based. So those that are showing up kind of scratching their head, well, I thought we're talking about evolution and avoiding exhaustion. What we're talking about is with our brains, literally, we have mirrored neurons that we're going to reciprocate however the other person's behaving. This is how we adapt in environments. This is science. So if somebody walks in the room, I just want to give an example. Somebody walks in the room, they don't have to say a word.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, something's off. Something's wrong. I'm going to leave that person alone. Or, ooh, who is that person? I want to know more about them.
Mm.
That is also understanding the nervous system too, because Dr. Stephen Porges talks about neuroception, which is our nervous system is actually about 2 feet around us too.
Mm-hmm.
And it receives whatever that person's thinking, whatever they're bringing in with them in the room, whatever we are expressing too, right? Magnets,
Mm-hmm.
same thing, same exact thing. So if you can believe in magnets, you can believe in
We are
us.
magnets.
We are connecting here, people.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And
Science is showing us.
energy knows no boundaries.
Yeah.
There's no geography when it comes to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We can pull up a spirit. I can think about Grace and just send her love, as we know with, I mean, we're trailing, but this is such a rich conversation, but it is all about the evolution of becoming a person that we desire to become without having energy leaks.
And without depending on other people to validate our worth and
Correct.
giving it to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. I'm just saying it right here because that is what people are searching for. And that is outside. And what it is inside. How am I finding value? Am I sitting down and eating the bread? Am I savoring everything that I've done? And this is amazing, not in an ego way. It's more of, wow, look at this. Look where I've come from.
Mhm.
Maybe you're a phoenix rising out of the ashes. I don't know, but finding that value, finding something within, and being curious of, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to wake up in the morning and ask myself how I want to feel at the end of the day, and then check in. How did that go? Did you get off track? No one can make you feel a certain way. And I'm going to bring up Grace because she's been patiently waiting before we get into other things about, what are your thoughts as we are chatting about the energy, the connections, and evolution?
Goodness, yes. I valued your share. It's almost like I want to go back and re-listen to it. There's so much depth. Many people speak in surface communication and surface language. Um, and I really feel that you both have depth where you want to go and immerse yourself back to refresh the message. So I want to thank you for that. And so every 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 day presents gifts and opportunities. Every situation is a gift and an opportunity. This is and I learned this from Dr. Shazad Shamin. And he's not a doctor, but he's a professor at Stanford. He wrote a book called Positive Intelligence. And he talks about how this is a sage or an ally perspective where we are being an ally to self.
Mm.
And I I value the premise of that thought because I think it's for many so easy to be an enemy of self. And it reminds me of a quote from Dr. from Carl Gustav, and it's one of my favorites. He stated, "When there's no enemy within, the enemies outside cannot harm you."
Mm.
And so this is not, if this is a serious conversation where you're probably hearing it for great purpose and reason, and it becomes an opportunity for all of us to not only hear it and validate it and maybe even nod our heads, but really grasp onto it, find ways to integrate these ideas. I loved your question at the beginning of the day, and that was Stephen Covey's second habit. He said everything happens twice, first in our minds and then in our
Mm.
reality. When you're asking the question and you're making a statement, you're creating a navigation so that you get to where you desire to be. Again, default is today is a new day. Design is this is where I'm going, and how can my actions and my connections and conversations and experience align with what I'm saying I prefer for my life. So many are clear with what they don't want. I had
Mhm.
great conversations with people and they're like, yeah, I asked them, what do you prefer for your life? What do you want when it comes to your health? What do you want when it comes to your family, your career,
Yes.
uh, your community? And they would say one thing that they wanted, and then they'd follow that up with 10 of what they don't want. And so in the moment, I said, may I share an observation? Yes, they said. What I'm observing is that there is immense clarity on what you don't want, and therefore you continue to get a lot of that.
Hmm. It is true. It is true. Uh, I hope that everybody received that. And you know what's wonderful is that we have choices. And it's a neural pathway. It is. Those thoughts are repetitive, ruminating thoughts. The mind gets in that groove of it. And either we have a sensation that comes up, ooh, I'm alert, I'm heightened. And you can sense that, and then that sparks a thought. Then that thought becomes an emotion, right? So that's the reality, as Grace was alluding to. First thing comes with a thought, then it comes into reality as we have a behavior, that type of thing. But I really want everyone to hear that it's about the neural pathways that we are creating and how we are relating to ourselves. And this is the work, right, on a cellular level from the inside out. And before we run out of time, I do want to shift a little bit of this conversation. It's still on evolution and a cellular level, but both Deborah and Grace and myself have experienced some amazing things from Bella Grace that is simply just revolutionary. And I would love for, I don't know, Grace, Deborah, who would you like to talk first about Bella Grace and what
I'm
it's done
ready.
for you? Yeah, she's here. She's got it.
Yes. So
What are
thank
you
you so
holding up
much.
there? What is that?
This is our flagship product. It's an elixir where Grace and I were both introduced to shortly after the global staycation. And actually, this one little product has completely transformed my body, my mind, my spirit, and it's been my liquid gold support system for over 4 years. I don't go a day without it. It comes with 80 human clinical trials. There's no fillers in it. It has the most extraordinary ingredients, proprietary ingredients that work in the body like a workhorse. It's like goes in and works with your inflammation and gets that under control, because inflammation is the number one reason for disease and death. And so if we can get a hold of our inflammation, we can have better everything, better joint health, better brain cognitive health, better vitality. And then, of course, it has antioxidants in it, which are 6,000 times more potent than vitamin C. The science is just miraculous. It's cutting edge. I call it blue ocean science. And I come from a background in the wellness and beauty space. So I have never utilized a product or promoted a product with my brand longer than I have with Bella Grace. I've represented some amazing science over the years as, a beautician. I have never seen anything like this for what it does. So, Grace, what would you add to that?
I, you, I again, I am so thankful that elixir that you were holding up, Deborah, was introduced, because it has had already a generational impact on my family. I was
Mm.
just speaking with my daughter yesterday as we were leaving from her competitive basketball practice late last night, and I just asked her how her knees were doing and such, and she said, I am feeling great. And I said, did you take your elixir? She said, oh yes, mom, I take it twice a day. So, and why does she take it? I used to remind her. I no longer remind my daughter, because she recognizes when she takes it versus when she doesn't. And and it's the same for me. What you shared, Deborah, 4 years taking this elixir every single day, wouldn't go a day without it in my body. And over the years being in professional development, everywhere I'd go, people would send me home with their products, send me home with their services. I'd come back with luggage heavier than I left with. And never was I able, or maybe it wasn't able, never did I. It's a decision. Never did I take a product consistently like I did and have with this one. The distinctions are visible, and the distinctions are invisible. And
Mm.
I will say, every person that I've introduced to this elixir, every single person that I've introduced over the last 4 years will not go without it
Mhm.
and chooses to say yes to their health. And so, gosh, how could something like that even exist? Well, a scientist created it. It wasn't just cooked up in a kitchen. A man that's trained more doctors, more and developed and designed. He has more research on one of the ingredients in this product, over 30 years of research on it, because he found it to be such a profound ingredient and believed that it would have ongoing impacts worldwide. And that is what is transpiring. So
Mhm.
thank you for allowing us to introduce this to you and your audience and those that are listening, because you know I always look at this: what would my future self thank me for? My future
Mhm.
self will thank me for the fact that I've made a decision to invest in my health and made it a priority, because most people trade their wealth for their health when they
Yes.
and then they trade all their wealth, all their health for their wealth, and then all their wealth for their health. Well, what if you didn't have to make that slippery slope decision, and it's something that's easily integrated? You just rip it off, you drink it, and you're on the go. It's a rip and sip, and I'm on my way out.
It is. It really is. And I have been using this since June of last year. And I had a lot of things happening at that time. We just stopped full-time RVing. We moved into a townhome. My mother-in-law had, advanced stages of dementia. And that was very hard, very stressful, very just all the things I was going through. And I was having some knee pain, a long story short. And I decided, why not? Why not try this and see how this could support me? And Deborah was kind enough to send me a 10-day supply. And after the third day, I was feeling better. Mental fog, inflammation, as Deborah said. I know that sounds kind of interesting that it happens so quickly, but I believe because I'm so in tune with my system anyway. And also, we got to think of our bodies as a filter too. So if you're taking this, great, but also be intentional. If I'm having inflammation, maybe I should cut down on sugar just a little bit. Right? I want this to be proactive. I want this to really support my system. If I could just make one little choice to shift a little bit, to have this to support me, why not? So this is what we're offering here today. Uh, you get access, you just that QR code here at the bottom in the lower right-hand corner, that's direct access to my back end office. Right now, there's a 25% off a product and a buy one, get one. I mean, you can't beat that, especially the lip plumper that I use. I've had so many people comment on that. And just to be the face product, since the elixir works so well, I thought, why not go with the collagen, right? And so I get comments all the time. So I'm like a billboard, right? I'm not selling anything. I'm just showing up, and I love this product. So I'm extending that invitation to anyone here who is curious about Bella Grace. Again, scan that QR code, DM me. I'll put more information in the description of this show, so that way you can have access to that link. But it's really about evolution too, because this is working on a cellular level. When we feel better, when we look better, clear, clean, open, then other people are more receptive. We feel better. It's that, as we talked about, the energy, the cells, we present ourselves easier. We feel good about ourselves. And that's what we really want. We want to feel better. Yes. So before we leave, we're a little over time. I would love for each of you to just one little takeaway message for our audience here. Deborah, I'll have you go first, and then how to connect with you. Where can people find you? Oh, you're on mute, my
You're on
dear.
mute, Deborah.
There we go.
The one thing that comes up for me is the hashtag I'm worth it. So I'm worth it to take a look at my life, to do an assessment, to connect with the right people, to let the people that are not leveling up in your life go, to be to do enough self-care, to think enough of yourself, to do the work, to release what is no longer working in your life, to give yourself an opportunity to try April's Bella Grace products, which have leveled each and every one of us up. As I said, I've not gone a day without it, but what it has done for me is it pales in comparison to what I hear from people on a daily basis as to how I've impacted a few that have impacted the many. So you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm always available through referral with April and vice versa. I'm here to support each and every one of you, and we want you all to win.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Deborah. And Grace,
That.
takeaway message for those who are listening now or in the future, and how to reach you.
Well, I love what you shared, and it made me think, Deborah, about, and I loved how you said, we want all of you to win, because it's so true. There's never a limit on what's possible. Like everyone, sincerely, the people that are on this line want the best for you. And I was sharing with someone, I said, well, if we don't, who will? If we don't introduce you to this elixir, you may go your entire life never knowing. You just are, rambling through on a shelf trying to find something that may or may not work. And many people have cupboards filled with the may or may not works. Whereas I feel like we're doing a service to people, through people, that this could be an answer to the question that you've been seeking and looking for, that will make an ongoing impact for you and those you love. So best way to reach me would be Grace at coachwithgrace.com or Coach with Grace. Grateful to be able to have shared this time with you, April. Your beingness, your centeredness, the opportunity to be in your space. Bali is sounding pretty phenomenal right now. I will say that, because of how you show up, and in every environment that I've bared witness of you. So whoever is plugging into you is in great company, and we all can benefit. So thank you.
Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you.
I want to just preface that by saying I hold the mirror up 100% to everything that Grace just said about you. And so I won't reiterate, but you know my heart.
Thank you. Thank you, friends, for being here. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And if something lands with you in this conversation, or you know someone else who needs to hear these words of wisdom, whether it is about the evolution, and moving away from exhaustion, or maybe it's the Bella Grace product, whatever it is, please share. Please share and comment. Keep this ripple going, right? Because we want you to know that evolution does not have to come, from that cost of your energy, the stress, the overwhelm. And when you're in alignment, that's when your body is more present. You receive that support. This is that connection, that flow that we talked about. This is when clarity returns and you and your energy will show up differently. And that's what living with intention is all about. So thank you both for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, be well.